If you've been keeping up with this book read that I'm doing, um, my last in December, I said that this year I was going to spend my time diagnosing those that are mentally ill. With the first few chapters that I've read, you can see that those within a dynamic that are mentally ill are actually the end result of the mental illness within that environment. This is one of the things that I was looking to prove. Is I was dealing with abuse in my childhood, repeated the pattern and married an abusive man, and I have 4 children, and I've been watching potentially abusive patterns being repeated. Now, within that abuse, I'm now on a long-term disability. And odd as it may, well, it's not all that odd, but my father would always say women are the result of all problems, and women on welfare are stupid, lazy, and just trying to take an advantage of a system. Now, being on this system, only I know the causes that landed me here. And it sure wasn't because I was lazy or stupid. Just by the volumes of videos that I've posted and the information, it's kind of technical information, you gotta agree. It's not the only research that I've done. I've just spent my whole life researching. Researching is kind of my thing. And when I want to prove something, I research to find the evidence to back up what it is I'm trying to prove. Now, part of this disability, there's a lot of doctors over this last 10-year abusive divorce that would label me to be the one that's mentally ill. As you can see, the person that sort of assumes that labeling, which, okay, if the dance of this game, or the game of this dance that's being played, is a power struggle between sane and insane, I will let insanity label me to be the one that's mentally ill. But how's that working for you? At the end result, it's like all of your tax dollars are going into supporting people that aren't being productive. Why is it I am not being productive within our taxation system? There's a reason. It doesn't have to be that way, and it has nothing to do with whether I want to work or not. I would prefer to work. I would prefer to earn a living. How many others are unemployed right now? This game has been playing out for hundreds of years, and it's multiplying at alarming rates. Soon you'll find that the very same reason why I'm on a disability, you'll find global population could apply for a disability if it was available, which means that my time frame of even being on a disability is very limited. I see that train coming, and even that source of income is very finite. It's very, very short-lived, which is why I put myself out there as much as possible to make the shift that will sustain a totally different potential, opportunity. I require that opportunity to manifest itself. This is my effort. I'm putting the energies out there to manifest a different reality. But if the majority outside in my world, government, justice system, police systems, economic systems, all perceive me to be the one insane, do you think that I'm hireable? Do you think insane people or sane people will hire somebody insane? Does that make sense to you? I don't think so. It is better that those that want to label me as being mentally ill might want to change their wording and not give me that label to make me hireable so I can be productive in doing what I do best. Which means that the words that come out of my mouth can't be insane. You have to find the logic to the language that I use. I personally think that if we make laws, the logic behind making a law is to create a society that's functioning. To create laws, one would assume that there's a criminal and a victim. Yet, here in Canada, and I'm seeing this on a global basis, that we've made up a lot of laws. We're spending millions of dollars on professionals creating laws by recognizing a crime, a criminal, and a victim. Yet none of these crimes are being enforced. None of the criminals are ever found guilty of anything, and victims from the abuse are now left being the social problem. So as the player in this dance that's going on, I put my energy out there. I'm going to bring up the conversation. Does this make logic sense to you that the one on the bottom that's bringing you a lot of research is like, prove that I'm the one that's insane, and I'm bringing information to prove, no, your behavior is rather more insane than my behavior. At least my behavior is creating a better potential than the behaviors of the system that's crashing. It was less than a year ago that our government thought, oh, we'll communicate with YouTube and start talking and seeing what people want and answering a few questions. The majority of the questions that were asked by our Canadian government was to legalize pot, but that got barely an answer. And during that, I was saying, what's going to happen? Our economy's collapsing. Very few Canadians could even comprehend that something's going down in our economic system. We're looking at the United States. If you can't see that every single country is basically bankrupt, everybody's operating in a debt. So if we're all in debt, every one of us are bankrupt. Every country owes some other country, and the country that we owe it to is also demanding the money back because they got no money either. All the money is kind of gone. We've been living off credit for how many hundreds of years. The last depression, our way out was war, putting fake money out into factories, making bombs. And as long as we have an enemy, there's a reason to go to work every day. Killing people has been very, very profitable. The medical community found out that too, that as soon as they started curing, they were out of business. So what they had to do is not cure anything anymore, but rather give you a pill so you don't notice you're dying. You'll be cured or get rid of the symptoms from one, but you're going to get, a million others that because the one you're suffering from right now you want to get rid of, you don't really give a shit about, the potential illnesses that it will create. And you look at any advertisement that's pushing any drugs and tell me they don't give a list of 20 things you should be warned about. And then you take the pill. And it's like, how dumb is that? I think that behavior is rather insane to me. And what's the cause of all of that? It's like if you had a conversation with God and Satan, God says life is eternal, you may as well enjoy it. Where Satan says if you lived an eternity, it'd be hell, and I'll prove it. So, evil Satan wants to always end human life and never let you live an eternal life, because evil tends to think that peace comes only when you're dead. So then it's kind of obvious that all religions sort of have a death wish, because as soon as they're dead, God saves them and they get the eternal life. And evil is busy trying to tempt you into killing yourself, and you buy into killing yourself all the time. Evil has proven a point to God that life is hell as long as it's eternal. You know, Satan's trying to tell God, you got to get rid of life because it's a bad plan. And God, this is God's expression of love. You know, the only way you can get eternal life is through a loving life. That means you have to love your life. Everybody around you has to love their life. You know, that's the whole, like, the joke of the game is that, okay, it's an eternal game. It goes on perpetually, forever. And God says you may as well enjoy it. What does it take for you to enjoy your life? If everything that's killing you now is your lifestyle, the box that you're kept in that makes you think you have no free will, the box, this body that you want to get out of and get into heaven, well, that box is only created by the lack of information that evil doesn't want you to know. Because if evil lets you know of your fullest potential, then life would exist happily, eternally. And then Satan would be wrong and God would be right. But in the meantime, Satan's winning because he's making life hell. You're buying into it because you think you're sane, and you're doing everything completely dead wrong. You need to face some problems. We cannot be labeling people, because the more we label people, the more we separate each other, and that is the complete wrong path. So I won't even say either side. I'd call us all insane, because we're all playing the same dance. And it's just time to start playing a completely different dance. And that's by cooperation and support and understanding of each other. Healing from centuries of lies. We will hang on to our wars that are thousands of years old. And yet those people that experienced it are dead and gone. You know, and it should be about today and how I want to experience my life tomorrow. I don't want to be in a war with somebody tomorrow. I don't want to be dealing with shit all the time. It's like, why not design a system where we're the solution to every problem that we're experiencing right now? That just means if everybody took personal responsibility and shifted their own self, we'd have a global shift. So how is that possible? How do we get information out to everybody on the planet, how to solve their problems, how to recognize what game they're playing and not play it? As soon as you see the game that you're playing, you don't want to be playing that game. It's just a natural thing that as soon as you see yourself in a mirror fucking up, and you see yourself fucking up, it's the last thing you'll want to do. You'll sort of like run from it like the plague. So how do you show a friggin' planet their mirror? One thing I've noticed that's really funny, that if we only all followed our own advice, we'd get world peace. So think about that one. Most people are busy giving you their advice on what you should do, because if you do what they tell you, their world would be perfect. But if they actually listen to their own advice in their own lives, then they wouldn't see the types of things they're seeing that labels and separates them. Usually the advice you give other people is the advice you're supposed to take for yourself. But we can never, ever, ever follow our own advice. But that is our insanity. It's an easy thing to diagnose. I'll bring you all of the education that will help you properly diagnose who's sane and who's insane. Until we're in this game, we're all dancing in it. until all dancers decide a different dance.